Awesome. Welcome to another episode of A Podcast. Jared Kozak, Chief Hacker.
Good morning, Steven.
Morning and morning coffee. We're going to get into what you're doing here. And I mean, Chief Hacker, very, cheers to that. Yeah. Coffee.
Coffee.
Appropriate for what we just went through, some tech difficulties, but we're here now. Won't get in the weeds on what just happened.
It's a very, very green moment.
Yeah. It had. This is why we can't. I learned early on in my ag days is never do a live demo. We did some like ag tech stuff, and every time we tried to do it because service was terrible in the areas we worked in. This is the reason that we stopped doing that. We would like pre-record a screen recording thing, or guys that think you're doing it live, and it kind of looked that way, but it really it's not to be live. It's just the fact that you're in rural locations and not all the tech worked super well. Anyways, we just went through an experience like that, I guess, on ourselves here. But
smart way of doing it. So next season is going to be a live recorded podcast, live studio audience then?
Well, yeah, now that we're saying it, I guess so. Hopefully. Studio audience, do you think? Yeah, well, maybe. I joked about that recently. That was not over coffee. That was over beers. I was talking about an idea where we'd have like people like sitting observing it with their genuine responses, not like a fake crowd clapping, but like actual people there. So maybe. Not going to rule it out.
That's chill. I like that.
It could be neat. So, but coffee. We've met for coffee a couple of times. Yeah. I think we've got similar. Well, tell me about your mug. Let's start. Let's dive into that.
It's a Miami mug. One of those Miami Starbucks mugs. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. My mom likes to collect them, and then she gives me the extras, and then I have just ended up with a whole bunch of mugs. But they're amazing because they're big and they like stand up on their own. Like if you put it on like a couch or something like that, and they stack. It's beautiful. It looks beautiful in the cupboard.
Nice. That it's so fun when companies do stuff like that where it makes it easy to use the product and like you said, stack it, storage, everything like that. And how do you take your coffee, Jared?
Just black. But I like a good dark roast. I like a good pour over. So actually like grinding the beans, like having a freshly ground brew to like the right coarseness, and then doing the pour over, and then the temperature has got to be exactly the right temperature. If you like burn the beans, then the coffee tastes burnt. So I've got a kettle that gets it to exactly 81 degrees Celsius. And then you do the pour over, and then you get a fresh pot. So I find that with like the actual like coffee makers, they boil the water so it comes up, and it's a little bit cooler, but it's not quite the right temperature, and so it still tastes a little bit burnt. And then when it's sitting in the pot, if it sits in the pot for a long time, then it is also burnt because you're burning the bottom of the coffee with extra heat. So with the pour over, you get it fresh all the time at exactly the right temperature with fresh beans and everything like that. And I drink so much of it. I probably drink like 2 or 3 cups a day. That it makes sense for me. It's comforting, and I drink it black, so it's I think it's not unhealthy for me. There's obviously the caffeine aspect, but I think a little bit of caffeine is still okay.
Oh, no, it's I was not expecting us to go down this path of detailed on the coffee, but this really speaks to you though, Jared. You're a very detailed guy, and when you're into something, you're 120% into it. So I am not surprised. My answer on this one's a little bit different. My mug's just a flashback from one of the other company or whatever, our first logo. And I always write quotes and stuff on the back of them. It's just like one of the first ones. It's like I started experimenting with brands when I'm launching them by putting them on business cards and mugs and t-shirts and seeing what it looks like to me. And then we take things off. It's like the gateway drug to starting a company. Besides buying,
that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, so we do that kind of stuff, and I do like dark or medium roast, good, and not in that level of detail. I'm from historical business travels for me. There's been basically a pot of coffee on. I don't think they had that high level touch to it, so I got used to having some basically workshop style coffee in many farmyards, so to say, in kitchens. It was great coffee, and now I have a very similar pot in my house here. So I think you probably prepare higher end coffee than I do, but I'm a fan of all of it. So when we do go to coffee shops and stuff like that, usually a dark roast, and then 2 or 3 a day if I can control it to that. If not, it just kind of continually goes down. But
all of a sudden you've had 2 pots.
Yeah, I know, those are days. You're just panicked. it'll take you down a weird path running a business when you do that, because all of a sudden it's like accounting, creativity. We have to order something new. We got
ADHD.
yeah, it's just like rampant.
Yeah.
Um, but and Jared, we've known each other for a bit, kind of crossing paths on the work side of things, as it were. I know you guys have had some evolutions in the business. Where are things at today? Let's start with that, and then let's go back to where you've been and where you're going.
Man, yeah, it's been a journey. So currently we build a software called MoveRight. It is a platform that makes it really easy to run a moving company, to get started with a moving company, and then to continue to run the operations and ultimately scale it.
Yeah,
So we've built this incredibly simple system that is easy to explain to movers, that's easy to like run and get set up,
yeah,
and it's so easy that an AI can do it. And so I'm taking philosophies from a lot of the folks that I'm meeting at like the Manitoba Innovates Accelerator, from within the Winnipeg community and the greater Canadian community that are building startups. And with this new AI revolution, there's this cool opportunity here where we can build systems that people don't have to use. Um, I mean that's always kind of happened with legacy technology and automations, but it's crazy the amount of automations and the amount of optimizations we can make to these existing systems so that people don't have to use them. People hate using their systems, no matter how good it might be. So the more we can like remove those barriers, the more we can put the information in front of them where they want it to be delivered and everything like that, the better systems we can build. And so I've really embraced that philosophy, in building software and building product and these kind of systems. So I've been having it's like the time of my life right now. I'm having
I
such a good
know, I
time
can
building Move
feel
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Last time we went for coffee, I was picking up this energy from you too. It's just this like burning fire in you that you're like, I love. I believe, don't you correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but you love coding. You kind of got into this. You've been doing this stuff since you were a teenager. Then you took a business degree to learn how to do this stuff better on the business side, because you saw that as maybe a area where you needed to improve or grow a little bit more in. I think you're very smart in business, but I'm glad that you went
Thank you.
pursued that. But yeah, this inner coding side of what you've done. What was the thing that you did in high school? Could we talk about it?
Yeah, in high school, I had this really awesome opportunity to build the system that organized all of the peer tutors. So like matching tutors with tutees, and having like requests for tutors and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I had never touched a web server. I had never built anything like that in my life. I had used like Unity to build games and stuff like that. I had no idea how I was going to do it or how I was going to approach it.
yeah,
And I just knew that I had this opportunity to build it. My school was going to pay me to do it. And I had the peer tutoring teachers at the time, the teachers that were organizing the program, they
yeah,
wanted to give me this opportunity, to give me this shot to help them make some optimizations, even if it was a little bit clunky. They gave me that shot to do it and try it, and they were like, he's probably not going to be able to do it. I think I spent like 500 hours collectively figuring it out and figuring out how to build it. And I did it. I deployed it, and then I had to go through the whole like questionnaire with the school to sell it to the school and
yeah,
like deploy it to the school. But that was my first taste of entrepreneurship. That was my taste of, okay, I can build a thing and then I can sell it, and then especially with software, I've already built it, and then you just keep on selling it. And I continued to do that. I continued um, to do the business side of the thing that I also had no idea how to do,
right.
which is why I decided to go to school for business. I kind of
Yeah,
felt like I could learn all the coding stuff on my own. I felt
yeah,
passionate about like looking up how to build these kind of web systems, and uh, I could Google anything. I could find some guy with an accent on YouTube that could teach me how to do anything, like computer oriented. But
yeah,
what I
yeah,
wasn't going to do is look up how to do marketing, for example, or like I wasn't going to read a marketing textbook or like a corporate finance textbook. Whereas um, school, like kind of it guides you through it. It really shows you how to do a lot of that. So I learned so much in my journey at the Asper School of Business, and I made friends that I still have, that we still go on cabin trips and hang out, and like that's really that's become a lot of my community.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've just
Awesome.
I embrace that. I embrace the my weakness essentially, and I pulled that in.
Yeah, but I think that's one of your biggest strengths there, Jared, is being able to even identify that, like looking, kind of internal on that one. Um, yeah, that's super cool. I actually shout out the Ag Biz faculty
Yeah.
as well for the same. I mean, for me, that was I mean, very similar in many ways, the degree. Besides, I learned some more stuff about ag and then a little bit of a different network that basically evolved out of there. But super thankful for all the folks. Yeah, I met there. It seems like you've done the same thing. And I think that was one of the best parts of university for me was basically the network that came along with the experience of going through different exams, the
Mm.
stresses, the I'm lost continually, both in the work and actually on campus for myself. But that's really cool that you ended up doing that and having such success, and then a network from that that helps. Sounds like
Mm.
continues with you to this day, which is just great to hear. I think that's what business is really all about. At the end of the day, is finding the people that you can kind of ride with and work with.
Oh yeah.
Ultimately, yeah, and trust.
Hmm.
That's one of the biggest things I've discovered on my journey on that end of things there. So it's super cool to hear how your entrepreneurial experience started. It's super unique. I don't know many people that have just like been going to school, paraphrasing, and just had something like that kind of occur. And then you're like, yeah, I can do this. And it's, go time, make it happen, sell it to the school, and then keep rolling in software and stuff. Like, that's pretty incredible. Is there anyone in the family that does entrepreneurship?
My father was a beekeeper, so I learned a lot of the business side of that, and like how to run an operation, and um, how to grow a business, how to scale, and that kind of thing. So I learned a lot of that from him.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's been through mentors as well. Like I had another mentor, James Warren. I worked with him for like
Yeah.
4 or 5 years, and I learned so much from him and from his
Yeah.
experiences. Previously, like we started pretty early. We started when we met in the military, and we grew together. We grew the business together. We did consulting together. We took risks together. And I think that that's really what mentorship should be. It should be like actually building something together, an actual partnership, not just some kind of like, oh, let's meet for an hour once every quarter for coffee and I'll give you advice. Like get in the thick of things with them, like see what they're doing, see how they work,
Yeah.
and potentially even partner with them, like mentor mentee, like actually grow something together. And I feel like that is so much more valuable in terms of like mentorship and like building each other up than an hour of advice ever will be.
That's very true. There's a lot of nuances that you would miss by actually seeing someone for that amount of time,
Mm.
right? Versus, like you said, going for that. Like, those are helpful. Sometimes I call on folks for help in the community here, and lots of shout outs to probably be made in that laundry list. I'm sure you talk with some of the similar folks because Winnipeg's a small town.
Mm.
But there's definitely a lot to be said for being able to get in there and, yeah, work with someone shoulder to shoulder, as it were,
Yeah.
and yeah, learn from them. Very cool. What's one of the biggest learnings you've had on this journey?
Oh, that's a good question. um like my entrepreneurship journey or my journey in building product. I've learned so much, just in failing, in trying
Yeah, yeah,
things, in getting started. I think that getting started is probably one of the biggest things I've learned, and not aiming to be perfect right off the bat. Like
yeah,
when it comes to context of like building a product, you talk to a mover, for example, and you're going to talk to this mover, and they're going to bring up all the edge cases that they currently have, because that's what they're focused on. They're not focused on the core system that they've built, and that's what ultimately you should be focusing on. Focus on their core system, and find ways that you can work in some of those edge cases, but they're edge cases. They'll handle them when they need to handle them.
yeah,
Focus on that core system, on that really simple aspect. Like, what is the flow that happens 85, 90% of the time, that they don't want to talk about because it's not interesting to them? Like when you're doing that product discovery, it's so hard to pull that out of people, because they just want to talk about the edge case. So actually, like doing the job or shadowing them doing the job, or like one thing I do sometimes is I'll like get on a video call with someone that works in the call center, and I just like hang out and I listen to them and I listen to their calls, and like I like am
Okay.
able to hear what the actual flow is, that they
Right.
don't want to tell me, and all the little nuances like you were saying
Mm.
that don't get picked up on. Yeah, so I guess the biggest thing I've learned is just to start as simple as possible and get something simple that you can then iterate on and improve and continuously improve. Potentially fail, like have someone tell you this sucks. I don't like using this, and then you talk to them and it's like, oh yeah, because this button is placed in the wrong spot. I was like, okay, well, we'll fix
Right.
that. We keep on improving and keep on improving. They get used to it over time as well, and so they improve. They get to know the system a little bit more. But you have the short window of time. Introduce those new features where it's like, okay, this sucks. This is why it sucks, and then they get used to it. But the next person that comes through it is going to also find that it sucks, right? So
Yeah.
you have to take that with an open heart,
Yeah.
and take that critical feedback without it damaging your ego, because otherwise what feedback are you going to get unless they're yelling and screaming at you and telling you that I had one guy that told me that he was excited for Canada to become the 51st state, and to take all of our minerals and resources. Oh, also, can you please fix this bug for me, please? Right?
Oh God.
Like you have to take that feedback. Like, ignore all the rest, like ignore the yelling and the screaming and whatever.
Yeah.
And you take it and you take it to heart. You use it and you keep iterating. You keep pushing forward. But that comes from starting simple, from starting small, and then building on it.
Totally. It's interesting to hear that because obviously we're both in the same wavelength as we understand like there's different increments and stages to different updates or different things along the way. But something I've seen with other folks, if we're working with them on a podcast or marketing, bring our world into this for a second, but they see the refined product at the end of it and they
Mhm.
just want that. They just want like whatever that is. But sometimes that thing being kind of very general when I say this, but is a few steps away for them to get to, that level of virality for the
Mhm.
followers or whatever it is. It takes time. We're so used to seeing that like instant thing. People don't realize that that thing might take a year to get to,
Mhm.
on that end. Maybe it doesn't take that long for some of your stuff, but in terms of, if we're growing a brand and having this like following and stuff for us, sometimes it's like, they're like, yeah, we want to be like our competitor or better than that, and it's like,
Mhm.
well, cool. They invested in someone or a team 2 years ago. They have been
Yeah.
going hard at that for a while to get to that point. So sometimes I think people just see that end result and they're like, we need to have that, right away. And it's not always that simple,
It
frankly.
takes way longer than you would think.
Yeah.
Like we started 4 years ago, and we were like, "Oh yeah, it'll take a year to get ready and get deployed." And 4 years later, and we're actually able to make our go-to-market push now. But that's because we've been iterating. We've received feedback. Like we built our system around a whale, so there was a lot of distractions around that. Like
Mhm.
building it for this larger multinational franchise moving organization, and it's only now that we have the features that are comparable, if not better, now because of AI than our competitors.
Right.
It's taken such a journey to learn not only about like how to build this product, but like what our customers really need, and like build it from there. So it takes way longer than you would think, but that's a good thing. You don't want it to be an instant success, because otherwise people will just follow you into that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, that's very interesting to hear you talk about it like that. Just so relatable to a lot of other conversations we've had on the podcast, right? It takes way
Mhm.
longer than you think. And to highlight maybe this for anyone listening, not to caution them when they're getting into it, but I know I have a lot of folks that have they see the hype of other
Yeah.
stuff that we do too, and they're like, oh, entrepreneurship, I should go do that too and quit my job. I'm like, hang tight.
Yeah.
Are you prepared for these scenarios? It's
Mhm.
not all sunshine and rainbows. And are you down with this heartache or this or someone, yammering at you pretty hard on the other end of a phone call or an email? And how are you going
Mhm.
to handle that? And it's not personal, right? You said like removing the ego. That's such
Mhm.
a great comment to, can we dive down that a little bit? How do you
Yeah.
manage like emotions in business? I think it's something that you do really well. And we have not chatted. I didn't
Mm.
prep you on this at all, but emotions and kind of just staying like steady Eddie on the dialogue. If someone does give you negative feedback and without hurting the ego, I think it's one of the biggest killers in business for sure, is taking it personally.
Um, I feel like I have a lot of empathy. Like, I don't know, Canadians just do business differently, if that makes sense. Like we take business with this approach of empathy and like understanding and wanting to be fair, and like cooperation. Whereas I find that Americans just have this super competitive nature to them. And so when you're working with Americans, you kind of just have to keep that in mind. But that helps because you like, I don't know, as Canadians, we can understand kind of what they're going through a lot more than any other country
Totally.
could. We can understand like their competitive nature. We understand each other a lot more. And when I approach those conversations, I take it from the perspective of active listening. Like, if anyone doesn't know what active listening is, like look it up because it's so important in everything you do. It's
Yeah.
understanding what people are going through. It's asking questions, not necessarily for the sake of the questions, but just to show that you're listening, to show that you care, and to bring out the things that um, they wouldn't otherwise say because they think you just don't care. So showing that you care, showing that you're listening, that you're there, and that you can actually solve those problems for them. It allows you to get more feedback, and you can't be negative about that feedback. Like if somebody's yelling
Right.
at you, you can't report them to somebody because then they're never going to tell you that same feedback again. You're never going to hear that from them specifically again,
Yeah.
and you never know when you're going to like lose that opportunity to get that feedback. And like especially in the early days, every inch of feedback is so valuable, um, because
Yeah.
people are busy. They don't really care about the software they're using. They do care in that if it gets in their way, it's going to cause a problem. But like the little nuances, they'll find workarounds for, and they'll figure it out, and they won't give you that direct feedback. They won't tell you what's important. So you just like you can't take it negatively, otherwise
Yeah.
you lose it. You lose the feedback ultimately. So you just have to be there. You have to be accepting. You have to provide service. Um, like if you asked a waitress or a waiter, uh, what like how do they do it? How do they deal with customers? They're just like, well, I have to. I've got to get tips at the end of the day. I've got to
Right.
make a living. And it's the same philosophy. It's the same philosophy as like serving in a restaurant. Somebody sits down, you get them their drink right away. You make friends with them. You um, make sure that they understand everything on the menu. That you explain the specials. That they feel comfortable in the space. It's not too cold. And by having those conversations, sometimes you don't have time, but when you do have time, have those real conversations. Like get to know them, and they'll keep coming back. They'll keep wanting to like come back to the restaurant. If the food's bad, they'll tell you. You go to the chef, you tell them, they fix it, right? So long as your chef is good. Uh, I don't know.
Okay.
This analogy could go really deep,
No,
but
no,
it's
that's
the
awesome.
exact same thing. Get them their drink right away, and they'll be happy with waiting and everything like that. Like it's the same thing.
I definitely agree with you with the active. Had to write it down so I didn't forget because I'm too much of a I'm 2 coffees in as well. So with the active listening thing, I would say it changed for me a few years ago. I dove into this really heavy instead of listening to reply. Having other sales roles in the past where I had continually improved, but I always found that there was a better way to listen and understand and get them to chat through whatever it was. More on the like the ag side of things originally,
Yeah.
agriculture. But then as I moved into my own companies, that became very apparent was yeah, really understand the company well and the person. Because I think we both know what we're talking about here. And maybe the someone listening may or may not, but the active listening thing is very evident when you catch someone not doing it, when
Mhm.
it's kind of fake. They're kind of there in the conversation. Maybe they're not meaning to. Maybe they're just busy. They got something else on their mind, but they're there, but they're not really super present. And I think
Mhm.
adding that depth of genuine authenticity is the major difference between maybe having a, well, I'll say like a client, customer, or friend in business, so to say, take it to the next level with you, or being able to do that. Because
Mhm.
it's not, when things are running well, everything's all great. But when things go wrong, as it were, which always happens, some way, shape, or form, something will go down, whether it be maybe something in your, not to poke holes in anything here, but for us, other softwares that we use don't work sometimes, and we have like a couple days delayed of whatever it is, or maybe it's a couple hours of stuff going out. It can have a trickle effect, and as long as you have that understanding and the ability to, yeah, communicate with the other side of that, then usually everyone's pretty good.
Mhm.
But if they're just very reactive and they don't listen, or you don't listen on the other end of that, if something went out or whatever it is, then it's tough to work through that. But and
Mhm.
people also have stuff going on outside of work. That's way more
Oh, yeah.
important. It's supposed to be 8 hours of our day, whatever it ends up being for everybody. But there's a lot more important things outside of work at the end of the day, and maybe some of that stuff trickles into work, and then that could affect their mood or why they're actually angry. It has nothing to do with your thing or your product or service or whatever. They're actually upset about something else. So there's, yeah, a lot of good books about that. I'm so glad that you shared that though, about all your, that was really well said. And I will say we work with some American clients too. They're definitely down for business quicker.
Yes.
They are just like at it.
Right.
Some of them are my favorites though. They get it. They're just like, okay, cool. You're doing this. Boop, boop, boop.
Mhm.
Done. Send it that way. But then we have a lot of great Canadian clients as well. So
Mhm.
I know what you mean though. It's a different breed or energy around the business in general. Some of it I enjoy, and I've worked with lots of companies over the years that are, or I guess head offices were in the States and stuff like that. And I didn't realize that till later. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess they were kind of more American swayed, and that was what all of
Mhm.
our meetings were down there. So, or like for head offices and stuff. So kind of interesting how those experiences. Um,
Yeah, but like my experience at Asper, like taking international business courses, that really helped me understand the nuances between cultures, even between Canada and the
right.
US. Like there's so many. Like for example, like with Japan or a lot of other countries, like they don't have that, or they want that prelude. Essentially, they need that warm up, that I don't know,
Yeah.
business foreplay in order to get
Hey, yes.
into the business. And the business is the last 10 minutes, but the important part is you. Like the important
Yes.
part is that friendship, that
Yep.
the connection that you're building together, because they need to trust you. If you just dive into the business, how can you trust somebody if you don't really know them? Um,
100%.
unless it's like a superficial partnership, but a lot of the times, like at least with what I'm building, like it's never going to be superficial. We're going to be working together for a while, so you have to be friendly, you have to be nice, you have to be their friend, and that becomes so easy when you're just hanging out with them and you're just having a good time, and
Yes.
yeah.
I love that. I was just thinking in my head, I couldn't stop. Okay, two things. One, Wolf on Wall Street, when he's like meeting with the Swiss guy, and he's really showing off his, I guess, a more American angle. You remember this clip? And
With
then
the
the Swiss
pen.
guy's like, I literally just watched this the other day. Right, I have it on as background noise once in a while. I love that movie. And uh, yeah, Leo is talking to the Swiss banker, and they're chatting, and he's like trying to interrupt him. He's like, okay, so what about the business? And the guy's like, oh, it's Swiss culture. We talk about nothing for 10 minutes and then we get into stuff. And he's like, and then he just sits there in silence. Like Leo's just like, no, I just want to do work, basically. Like just get right into it. And then he's just like, okay. And then they dive in and they start
Mhm.
negotiating their deal. But that's just like a funny, great example though, too, right? I think not enough people take it kind of slow like that. I think it's great to have
Mhm.
relationship focused style business things. You got to know who you're working with at the end of the
Yeah.
day. Made some we've worked with some clients before, haven't turned out to be the greatest things. And we did think we knew them really well too.
Mhm.
I think there's different things that you learn within business and reading people that can change over time too, or you figure it out better. But for
Yeah,
me, it's
you gotta know what makes people go. Like, why are they doing this? Why are they in that business? What are they
uh,
doing here? Like, is it for their family? Is it because they want a lot of money? Is it because they're paying back debt? Like, so you can
yeah,
pull out those things from people and like
yeah,
help them in their journey, and you're helping each other.
totally. Okay, Jared, I like that. That's gonna be our next question. What's kind of your why and behind where you're doing and where things are headed with you guys as a company and you personally?
Yeah, that's a good question. I am here to learn as absolutely much as I possibly can. I love building things and seeing people use the thing that you build. It's really satisfying. It's like, why does somebody make a video game? They love seeing people having fun.
Right.
In my case, they're not necessarily having fun using Move, right? They're there they because they need to be. They're doing work and stuff like that. But how can I make it easier for you to run a business, to set up your livelihood? And that's why I'm so focused on the startup movers, because those are the guys that really need the most amount of support. It's the guys that don't know how to do the marketing or how to do the sales aspect, or just don't have a system in general. And when a lead comes in, like making sure they don't lose them, like making sure they're following up with those leads and those estimates and those really simple things that you can do to
Yeah.
make your business successful that other people are doing already. And like I could focus on like the van lines and the really big types of companies and everything like that, but like they're fine, they'll find a system. They don't need me necessarily. And so by focusing on the smaller movers, I can help them get set up, I can help them establish their own career. A lot of movers too, they come from disenfranchised like groups, or they've gone
Yeah.
through the prison system and they can't get a regular job now, and so they're really their only way that they can be successful is through running their own business or finding somebody that believes in them. And these guys are so smart. They're super fit, and they know how to run this business. They know how to find the right crew. It's just a matter of like, do they have the right information system? Are they doing the marketing right? Can they make the sale? Are they finding the right clients and the right crew too?
Right.
But like these guys, they know what they're doing. Like they might have been running a company previously for like 5 or 10 years. And like for MoveRight specifically, that's why I love doing this. Just seeing the impact that this kind of business can have on people, and working with them through it. I think it's really it's really satisfying. It's really empowering, and I love to do that. On like a more personal level, it's like setting me up to be comfortable. Like I love what I'm doing. I love the coding aspect. I love being on like the cutting edge of technology and finding cool, unique solutions and then seeing how they fit into other things and stuff like that. I love
Yeah.
that aspect. So um, yeah, ultimately one day I want to retire and just build open source software and build solutions for people and like build cool things and not have to worry about like how am I going to make this make money. I think that would be amazing, but
Very
for right
cool.
now, this is the dream.
That's awesome. Jared,
Yeah.
it's so cool how I've seen this before, um, with folks outside of the business community. And I think it's an interesting aspect that folks just think it's, you're made in the shade and, you're just doing this totally out of making money with what you're doing. This is actually a recent conversation someone had with me. They they DM me
Okay.
direct. I don't think they understand how much we give back to the community whenever we can. And even just like the pure joy that we also get from helping and seeing a company succeed, get more
Mhm.
leads, do different things in different genres. And just to add to what you're saying, not to yeah, exactly that. But it's so interesting to hear your passion about wanting to help these folks out. I think that's really where a lot of people in business come from. Some folks do not, but I think a majority of folks come from this in that exact same energy. And it's about, hey, how can we help you day in and day out improve
Mhm.
your business? You guys probably get to see some of the stuff directly on the back end of the software where it's not just a product that you've sold, it's a product and service. Ultimately you're doing both, I
Mhm.
guess. Your product and service, which is kind of complicated, I'm sure, at moments, for you and the clients. But yeah, you could just feel your passion talking about it. I think it's so refreshing to hear that. And can we dive in a little bit more on exactly what you guys do, maybe a little bit more technical?
Mhm.
Feel free to lose me. I'll ask the silly questions for the listener here about what you guys actually do. Let's say I'm a moving company and I'm having struggles with what you said there. I've set up, I'm moving stuff, we're taking calls. Maybe we don't have any, and we talked about CRMs at coffee the other day about how much people need them. So I don't have any system like that. I have an Excel sheet in my phone and
Mhm.
I'm doing a lot of stuff. I'm doing okay as a business, but I'm getting frustrated with how that works.
Mhm.
And then we meet somehow. I see an ad for Move Right, and I'm like, how can this help me?
Yeah. So at the heart of it, we're trying to build and are building the simplest CRM and system for movers. So in February of last month, for example, we booked $505,000 in moves in a specific location. And that came from various sources. So that came from Google Ads, it came from Google Search, it came from the TV commercial that they do, and lots of referrals. There was some repeat business. And so just understanding, where are your leads coming from? Where are you getting the most ROI? Where should you be spending your marketing dollars?
Cool.
And those leads come in. So there was $861,000 in leads, or 626 leads in total came in February for that specific location from various sources, so Google Ads, search, whatever. And of those leads, $861,000 in estimates were delivered through our system with MoveRight, which meant that we were following up with 90% of our leads. About 10% we were able to disqualify here, and feed that back into our lead sources to say, hey, Google, don't give us any more of these leads. They're not actually serious. They're spam, like whatever.
Right.
But we were able to deliver that $861,000 in estimates for that location.
Very
And then
one
of those,
client.
this is one location, one client, yes.
That's incredible.
Of that specific location, so of those estimates, $265,000 are still at the time that I made this chart, this example.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was like the
Sorry.
beginning of March.
Yeah.
$265,000 are open. So what open means is they need to be followed up on still. Maybe they're waiting on a spouse to get back to them about, like, hey, can
Yeah.
I spend $1,500 on this move for next
Right.
week? Uh, or they're waiting to find out if their house closes, things like that. They're
Absolutely.
waiting on something with the estimate. But you as a mover, you as a sales agent, need to be following up with them. Like, you need to be
100%.
relentless about communication with them. You want to keep that line of communication open, because they're not going to call you back. You're going to be the one that books them, and that's just sales. That's just being in their face, potentially being a little bit annoying. But ultimately, like,
Yeah.
you want to be front and center for them, because you know that they're hot, that they want to
Yep.
move, and you want to be front and center. If what you want to do here is you either want to book that move in, or you want to find out why it's not booking. So if the price was too high, if they went with a competitor, that's really valuable, important information that you can use to describe how you do your pricing potentially, or how you're doing your branding.
Yep.
Uh, so, for example, with price being too high, you kind of you want that. You don't want to always be the absolutely affordable solution.
Yep.
You want people that are saying, no, your price is too high, because that's how you know that you're priced accurately. If, like, you have a certain percentage, like, say, like 10-15% of people saying your price is too high, that's healthy. You kind of want that, because you don't want to fill your books with unaffordable, like, unsustainable moves. You want to fill your books with the
Right.
moves that are making you margin, making you profit, and making you money. So our system helps you optimize that. When you do book them in, we booked in $505,000 in moves for this location in February, as of, like, the beginning of March. Um, you you can track that within the system. You can see that, okay, there's 236,000 of those that were booked into the future, and then of those, there was 269,000 that were invoiced through MoveRight. 112,000 is still open, so we're waiting on collecting that payment, and then 156,000 is closed. That's what you're ultimately trying to do. You're trying to take all of these lead sources that you have in the system, and I don't know if I can share my screen here, but there's a whole engine chart that we use to visualize the whole system for movers. That's trying to visualize, okay, let's take your leads, let's funnel them into closed invoice, because that's money in your pocket, that's money in your bank account, and that's how you're going to run your business. That's the system behind your business. Trying to make it as visual as possible, something that you can explain to people, is a way system.
Yeah.
Just that experience, that interface that you have behind the system is incredibly powerful for making those really simple systems. And something that I've been obsessing over for the last year is how do I make it as simple as possible, so that I can put money in these guys' bank accounts and they're not complaining at me about the thing being not intuitive or annoying or whatever. Like let's just keep iterating on it. Let's optimize it. Let's keep it simple. Let's get the main system down, and then the edge cases we can deal with later. The edge cases are for the AI.
Awesome. And sorry, I was just looking at maybe how we could share screens, but I don't want to goof it up and have any tech stuff. So let's not do it maybe right away is on here, but we'll definitely include the links on how to get in touch with you, which
Yeah.
ultimately would be through. I can share quick just because I had set this up ahead of time. So I'm just going to toss this up for a second here, but this is the website. We will include the links if anyone's watching, listening right now, moveright.app.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't see that. Okay, well, it cuts it off at the top there. Anyways, this is the website where you get to, and ultimately more information on here. So I'll just go back to us for a sec. So we'll do that as the tech thing would go. We'll do another one where we can definitely like chat through that or maybe dive in a little deeper. I think you did a great job there of categorizing it. It was one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on to talk about CRM, customer relationship management tools, because I think it's one of the biggest missing pieces from companies that are just starting off and they maybe don't have experience using them before, or haven't used them. My experience came from the corporate world where it was just standard issue. You had a CRM. I mean, we had a point where we weren't using them, and it was very like spreadsheet and old dated systems. And then all of a sudden it's like Salesforce, HubSpot, Hootsuite, whatever it is that you're using, or there's several now. That's lightly that you can use for different style companies. Depends on your needs ultimately, right? And you guys have gotten really specific in the moving industry. I'm sure your tool could be used in other ones like you were saying too, but ultimately it's something that's such a no-brainer. To me, it's night and day. I actually have a meeting tonight with a client that does not currently use CRMs. It put me in a panic when they described what they use. And I'm like, you guys are a big business. So we'll see how that goes later. I'm excited to chat with it, with them through it about how big of an impact that can have, right? Even if it's just some advice that they can run with, wonderful. Feel a lot better about it. But it definitely makes me nervous when folks say that they are not using a CRM. I'm sure you have a similar energy.
Well, why would you spend so much time building out all of these complicated spreadsheets that like you're gonna have to continue to improve and optimize over time that aren't connected
Yeah,
to anything that like you could potentially lose and are gonna be slow and clunky to use, and you're gonna have to go through all this training to figure it out, and you're gonna spend hours and hours and hours of your own time or your salesperson's time or whatever, when
totally.
like that's not what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be selling. They're supposed to be making you money. And so
Yeah.
why wouldn't you spend 99 USD a month on our basic CRM tier when it's just set up for you,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I don't know would be my answer, because I get it. I'd be like, yeah, take my money yesterday. Where do I sign up? Take the card. But yeah, for some folks, I think it's just maybe an unknown, right? The most expensive thing that we pay for is the stuff that we don't know. And
Mhm.
if you're really out to lunch on a certain category of your business or whatever, that could eventually cost you a lot of money. But folks, yeah, maybe you just don't have experience in the space. That's what I think it maybe is
Mhm.
ultimately. Like this particular one too is a what do you even call it? I don't know. Well, maybe an older industry, more traditional.
Mhm.
It's more very commercial, industrial, very generic, and how I'll describe this, keep it neutral for them. They're like on the podcast one day. I met them and I was just like, we were just chatting about business and stuff. And I was like, oh, like, how do you guys, they're like, oh, it's a little slower, in business. And then it was almost like a situation of what you just described there is in terms of helping someone out. And I was like, they're like, yeah, we see our competitors, stumble through words, doing all these ads and stuff. We have no idea how it works. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, what are you guys doing? It was one of those things, was just like so obvious for what's kind of needed there. But it's great when you can help, right? Whether it be advice or actually using the system and stuff. And
Mhm.
um, like you said, you
Yeah.
get a kick out of seeing folks succeed. And I'm sure this is really awesome to see with this client here that you just described, having that amount of success. That's exciting. They must be excited
Yeah.
about it too.
They're super excited, and like we're also able to help with all of the AI stuff. Like, how do you incorporate AI into your business? And we're
Yeah.
providing these tools that are like building the prices using AI. Like we're building whole itineraries. We're telling the sales agent how to make the sale. We're able to do one-click dispatch so that the ops team doesn't have to spend hours. And it's the kind of stuff that is so cutting edge that it's so hard to even imagine what you can do with it.
Right.
And we're able to take our technology and the blend of our moving experiences so far, and put that all into just an easy to use system, like a simple system, and we're able to
Yeah.
help people incorporate a lot of that and compete um, with that, and then also provide just a fantastically better move experience, like actually communicating to a customer, here's exactly what you're going to expect, like um, not just being like, is my mover even going to show up? Like, no, we're going to show up at this time. We're going to
Right.
take this amount of time. This is exactly what you can expect in terms of charges, and it's based on this inventory, and we're going to be accurate down to XYZ. Like, it's such a differentiating piece now that we're able to incorporate the AI aspect directly into the application, that I'm really excited to see where we're going to go, and our customers are super happy with everything that we're going to, and we provide lots of opportunities to scale. So I'm really pumped for the future, for the rest of the summer here. I'm doing a bit of a fundraise over the summer here, so I'll be at Unite the Prairies, I'll be at Web Summit,
Nice.
and yeah, just working through the summer here, having a good time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Manitoba Innovates Accelerator, and hanging out, and
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like a fantastic summer.
Awesome. Well, I'm equally looking forward to that stuff, and hopefully we can be at some of those events. Some of it depends on some other things I've committed to, but yeah, you just mentioned some events that we're going to try to make it out to with the team and be in the mix. Even
Mhm.
if it's not something for work, it's just great energy to be around folks doing cool stuff. So that's why we like to be at some of those. It's not always about closing the sale or finding anyone there. It's
Yeah.
just having fun. So doing that, everything's kind of a networking event. Depends how you look
Exactly.
at it. You meet people in weird ways,
Mhm.
and it ends up turning into maybe work or just some form of working relationship down the road, and you can refer someone. So,
Mhm.
um, Jared, we'll include all the links below here for different socials. I know you guys are active on social media now. The website. What is the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, if you go to about.moveright.app or just moveright.app, you can click the get started, and you can sign up as a mover. That's the best way you can get started, and you can book me in directly, and we can start the conversation. If you just want to chat, but otherwise, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm Jared Kozak on LinkedIn. Just shoot me a message. I'd be happy to chat there as well, or shoot me an email, jared@moveright.app, and I'd be happy to discuss anything.
Awesome. We will include those below. If you've made it this far, thanks so much for listening. And Jared, it's been a great conversation today. Thanks for making time.
Right on. Thank you very much for having me today, Stephen.
Of course.